Hey guys, what's up? This is Jada Michael, and I'm hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
I was listening to Freak, and I was listening to your previous material also, and I'm really digging your sound, your
You.
voice, and I feel like that's something that like when you're an artist, I feel like that's something that is like the toughest thing to do before you actually release music. It's like kind of discovering who you are, what you're all about, what your sound is going to be like. What was that development process like for you?
It's been really gradual. Freak is definitely like a combination of everything that I've learned, like musically and just like my growth as a person. Just coming into my confidence and really just being comfortable with being vulnerable about being authentic. It was a big part of like the process that went into Freak.
Vulnerability is one of the topics that I love talking about with artists because it's like it's not an easy thing to feel comfortable with, and especially when you're an artist, you're in front of everything, you know that people are going to listen to your stuff. So what was that like for you, getting comfortable in your own skin and being able to write these kinds of lyrics, and then also being able to produce videos like you did with Freak, where you're kind of just showing you who you are naturally. What was that process like for you?
I'll say that it actually wasn't too much of the musical process that got me to that point. That was a lot of like self-care, self-love, just, me going through life and experiencing stuff. When I was younger, I was not as comfortable in my body, not as aware of my sexuality. So just as far as my growth as a woman, I feel like it kind of, as I grew, it put me in a place when I was already kind of ready to be vulnerable when Freak came out. I'm lucky to say that. Like the first one I did was Cool in It. And I remember writing that song in the studio was kind of like, okay, like I'm just sharing all my thoughts with everyone in this room. Like, okay, like this is different. But by the time Freak came, I was more like in my element. That track was really fun to make. So it was just like a laid back kind of environment that really produced that.
So talk a little bit more about Freak and like that creative process with it, and like what producers or producer did you like were you in the studio with during this process?
It was actually a pretty big group in the studio at that time. Drop Santana, he's location out here in Miami with me as well. But yeah, it was just him and some of his homeboys. I had actually written the lyrics to this song years ago, like in my friend's dorm room when we were just like smoking and vibing. And I had it in my notes, and they presented me with this new track. And I was like, something I wrote a long time ago would kind of vibe with this. And yeah, we kind of just threw it over and then like rearrange things to make it fit together. And we were just having fun, to be honest. We were all just bobbing our heads in our own zone. Yeah, everyone kind of just was able to throw in little things here and there, and out came Freak.
What was that evolution like from your debut single "Breathe" to this new track "Freak"? Like your voice seems to be different in a sense, and the way that you deliver is also different. So what was that evolution like for you?
It was a big part of why I feel like they were able to develop like the difference so much between Breathe is that loops back around to the vulnerability conversation. As far as when I first started recording and I'll be in the studio with people, it was very hard for me to find my voice, because you'd be surprised, you can make suggestions. And when there's a lot of professional people who've been in the game for a minute in the studio, they're like, they're gonna it's easy for their voice to really come through. But I'm blessed that Breathe was the first single, because I was working with LaShawn Daniels. And if anyone's voice I want to come through on my music, it's going to be his. But by the time I got to Freak, I was a little bit more like articulate about knowing how to like ask for what I wanted. I really like pop music. So you might notice there's like a maybe like softer quality to Freak that is not necessarily in Breathe as far as like the vocals. So yeah, just the process of me being able to learn how to like really ask for what I wanted and create that clear picture in my head to get the product that I envisioned.
So is Freak like the new direction of your sound? Is this like what fans can expect, or are you still kind of testing the waters with different ways of singing and different ways of kind of delivering the music that you create?
It's a balance. I'm kind of happy with the fact that my music does have like different ranges, because I kind of want people to not necessarily know what to expect. I want to, and obviously you have to be branding and finding your audience is important, but I love house music. Like I love deep R&B, like I love classical. So I really don't know where things are going to take me. But I guess I will say that I got my voice across the most in Freak. So I feel like it might have a more similar energy to what my music will look like in the future. But really, I don't want anyone to create no expectations, because I don't know what the is going to happen. I'm going to write, and whatever I write, I'm going to share.
As far as your voice goes, what kind of like training did you have? Because you did mention classical. Was that something that you've done in the past, maybe when you were younger? Like, and how do you feel like that kind of training has impacted like your music today?
It definitely has in a huge way. A lot of people don't ask me about that. I'd be forgetting that like I did those kinds of things. But yeah, I went to college at the New School and I studied jazz voice there. But before that, I did like classical training in opera, and like I was in choir and musical theater. So just like getting my toe in with music, basically anywhere that I could. And I will say that impacted me in a huge way, because vocal health is really important. And in the hip hop and R&B fields and stuff, I feel like it's not as valued, more so pop, let's say. So I feel like it's given me a lot more confidence to perform. Obviously, I'm not performing right now but when I am able to perform in front of people, it kind of normalized getting on stage for me in a way that I don't think I would have been ready for now if I didn't do that stuff.
So, moving forward, like you have a new version of Freak dropping soon, correct?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about this new version, and why did you feel like this song needed that like remix or this new mix of the track?
It loops kind of back around to what I was saying about like wanting to be able to branch out into different fields. Obviously, more so than my previous singles, Breathe and Coolin' It, Freak has more of like the dance capacity, but even then it's kind of slow. I love slow music, so that's probably going to come across a lot. But just with the environment in the world right now, we're like, we need some up tempo shit, because like it is dark and weird right now. Like people are doing bad, but whatever. So that's how we kind of started connecting with people who could make more of like a dance mix. I don't know if people, it definitely is really different from anything I have, so it might throw people off. But I think people who want to hear dance music are going to really vibe with it.
And so far during these last 7 months, or basically this entire year, like how have you been able to like remain okay and be able to stay like, busy and able to still have that need or energy to kind of create music?
I'm really blessed to say that that's very much has always been linked into a part of who I am. As far as the creative aspect, it's been, like you said, like a shitty year as far as like what's happening as a society, but also it's really hitting everyone personally in a different way. So I've had really shitty moments, to be honest, but just as far as the growth of coming into my self-awareness and all those kind of things, you kind of just like learn to be resilient. But I'm lucky to say that music has never necessarily felt like a burden as far as an escape, you know what I mean? So writing and poetry is something I've been doing a lot. It's been hard to stay organized with like the business aspect of it, because my head is in like a very creative space.
Yeah.
But my passion has always been really linked to it. So I'm happy to say my head's been, that passion hasn't fluctuated at all through that. Thank God.
And lastly, you mentioned poetry as one of the things you've been doing. So how are you able to write poetry and kind of convert it into lyrics or into a song?
It kind of, I will say that every time I write, it can take a different process. But when I have anxiety and I deal with like a lot of in writing, like little stuff in my notes and like poetry, let's call them rhymes, because to really say it's poetry could be pushing it, because some of them are just like a couple sentences here and there. But to like be able to articulate my thoughts somehow really helps me find clarity. So when I'm going through something, I'll kind of just try to approach that in a lyrical way and like write some random shit. And I always find that when I get in the studio the next time, all these random blurbs can really like come together. So poetry converted to lyrics is like a very flattering way of like, you know, like doing it. It's really just like my chaotic ass notes from my phone like end up being lyrics in the songs, and it goes well.
Well, it's working out for you, so
Here
no
we are.
complaint there, right? Well, thank you for taking the time to talk to me. Congratulations with Freak. And what are the plans for more music? Are you planning on like a body of work, or are you like working on singles at the moment?
Yeah, after this, I'm really hoping it could be a single because I have some pre-recorded music, but I'm really hoping for a body of work. Everyone can find me on Instagram at Jada Michael, and I'll have updates about like the kind of stuff that I have going on.